create a relational database using Amazon RDS. Yes, RDS stands for Relational Database Service. We can go to RDS by just search RDS here, or you can just click on Service Database, and we have a RDS list here. After we land on the page, we can click on the Create Database, or we can see our existing databases. Now we don't have any. And then we can click on Create Database. It will load a creation wizard. So it will ask us to choose the basic information of the database we need. For instance, like the engine options, the template, the settings of the basic username, password, and the instance types, okay, and also the durability, availability for multi-availability zone deployment, connectivities, so the VPC, network and security firewall, okay, that's here, and also the authentication and the monitoring, and then we'll have additional like backups and the parameters. If you want to fine-tune the server of MySQL, you can just change some parameters there. Encryption, logs, tracking, maintenance, so everything is actually configured in this one page. It's very big, right? So that's standard create. Easy create. We don't have that many things. Use the default configuration. We just need to choose what kind of database we need, and then choose the tier for the cost, and then username, password, and that's it. Okay, so if you want, you can just go look at what's the default. Okay, so the VPC will use default, encryption and enabled. So these are just easy config. If you want, you can just use this easy config so that everything will be working and by default. So let's just quick look at the standard creation. Okay, so first the engine options. We have this many different engines. Some of them are not free, like Oracle. Most of them are free, like Aurora. Free in terms of you don't have to pay that company for the license in order to use the database, right? Because Oracle database is not free, so you have to buy a license first. But MySQL, Postgre, Aurora, they are open source, they are free. So we can just simply choose the engine, and then we pay the cost of AWS infrastructure only. Okay, and then the templates is basically where we want to deploy or where we want to use this database. Free tier, it's free of charge, but we have only one instance. Basically, one EC2 server will handle all the data storage request. Dev test, okay, we can now here we can choose multiple availability zone so that we can make our database more robust, okay, high available, and the production environment is also we can choose different. But the difference is if we choose test, probably we won't have that powerful CPU, okay, or actually we have but if we choose the 3-tier, okay, we cannot choose the instance type as whatever we want. We can only we are confined into these micro types. Okay, and then next is the setting. We have to give a name of our database. Let's just call it SEP training. Okay, and then name of our master. Let's call it root. Any name is fine, but I'm just used to root. Okay, I'll just create a password AABBCCDD as the one we used before in the SQL training, and you can also choose whether you want to be generated automatically, okay, or you can use AWS Secret Manager to encrypt and handle the password so nobody will see it. It can automatically rotate it. So if you want the password, you have to query the secret manager to get the password. So next is the instance configuration, and we can just choose the corresponding instances. As I said, so the free tier we are just confined into this small servers there. Storage types, so basically this is the hard drive. Okay, so SSD, GP2 type, GP3 type, it depends on GP3 is newer, okay, and it's faster, but GP2 is still the default. Okay, allocated storage we have 20 gig, and then we can make it like a maximum as 1000 gig. Okay, so we have this enable auto scaling of the storage. Okay, to enlarge the storage if the database grows very fast. And the next is the connectivity. We can choose whether our database needs to be connected to the EC2 instance directly. Internally, AWS will set up the connection, not in our code, but in the infrastructure level. So there's no roadblockers between the connections, because in the middle we have a networking security group, even the different VPCs, right, cross VPCs. So AWS can figure this out for us. But this only used for EC2 instances. Okay, so if I want to connect through my other tools or other like on-premise servers, then this is maybe not that simple. Okay, so since this is a demo, I'm gonna just use, we don't want to connect to EC2, even though we are gonna connect to EC2, but we're gonna use our code. Okay, so we're gonna figure out the network by ourselves. And then the network types, okay, IPv6 or IPv4. So that depends, but I would say IPv4 is more commonly used. And then the VPCs. Okay, so this is the virtual cloud. Ideally we need to use our own, right? So this is the VPC we created before, and let's just select this for now. And then, as I said, that after created cannot change the VPC anymore. Okay, and then the database subnet group. Okay, so we don't have any subnet yet. So let's just leave it there. Okay, create a new subnet group. And then the public access. Okay, so whether we want it to be available to the internet. Best practice is no, right? So you should never let your database backend directly exposed to the public internet. But for the demo purpose, right? So we want to, basically this is used for development purpose. It's not a real production database, so the data is important, but it's not that critical. So we just make it like a public. But just keep in mind, most of the database should be in a private network. Okay, so that's, you have to choose no. If you choose no, how you connect from home, right? So you have to use either VPN. You have a VPN connect to the company's VPC, or you can have some proxy server set up, okay, in the company, and then you connect the proxy. The proxy will forward everything to your computer at home or outside in the public network. Anyways, so for now we just choose yes. Okay, so just like make it easier. And the VPC security group. So this is the security group that can protect our database. Okay, so like what kind of port is open and which IP address can access the server itself. Okay, so we can just choose the default. Okay, we can change the security group anytime we want. So we can just leave it for now. The default is here. We can choose multiple ones actually. You can see here, right? And but let's just choose the default. And availability zone. Okay, so we can just choose availability zone, ABCDEF. Okay, so this is our U.S. Northern Virginia region, and we have this many availability zones. But this VPC, our VPC, we created in the previous sessions, we don't have that many availability zones. So this will cause issue because our VPC has only one zone, which is a rule. It's violated a rule that the VPC should at least cross 2 availability zones so that the RDS can create servers. Okay, we'll see if I now click on create. It will give us this error saying that the database subnet group does not meet availability zone coverage requirement. Okay, current easy coverage is US East 1A. We have only one availability zone covered by our SEP VPC, but at least we have to have 2 availability zones covered so that the RDS can start working for the data durability and availability reasons. So in this case, either we create a new VPC. Okay, we can just recreate everything just like the previous VPC session. We create a new VPC with the 2 availability zones, or you can use the default one. Okay, so because the default VPC, if we go to the VPC service, go to the network. Okay, I'll just bookmark it. And if you look at our SCP training VPC, right? So this VPC has only two subnets, and both of them are in US East 1A. You can see here. Then that means, okay, this VPC has two subnets, and all of them are in US East 1A. Okay, because when we created the VPC, we didn't think of like the RDS, but if you look at the default VPC, okay, so the default VPC is subnet. Okay, so it covers 1A, 1C, 1A, okay, and sorry, 1F, D, B, E, right? So it's like basically for each availability zone, this default VPC has a subnet. Okay, and so we can use this one, okay, to create RDS, because we're gonna use it as a public access, so it doesn't matter which VPC we're gonna create in, but just to let you know, okay, so that's the reason why we have the error up there. So now we choose the default VPC, and then everything should be good. And then the database authentication, we can choose password authentication. That's the default. Or we can have a password and IAM user. Okay, so we can use IAM user to access our RDS instead of create a user inside the database. Okay, and then monitoring and some additional configurations like the database initial database name. Okay, so if you want, you can create a new database, but we will use the command line to do that. Okay, parameters, backup. Okay, so the RDS backs up every day, every 24 hours for the data, and then we can just choose the retention period. We want to keep 1 month of data. Okay, every day we have one copy, or you can just you can just choose just 1 day. Okay, so this, I will just keep only yesterday's data, and I cannot roll back to the day before yesterday. Okay, so this all depends, or 0. Okay. All right. Anyways, and then we can have a backup window. We can just select, let's say, during the night, right? Or there's no preference, so anytime is okay. And the encryption. So this is to encrypt our data by default. Okay, so use the default encryption. KMS is a service in AWS, especially for the key management system. Logs. Okay, we have all different kind of logs from the server, so we can get it from the CloudWatch service in the AWS. Okay, so that's the log service. Okay, or for now we just leave it like not tangled. Sorry, not checked, and enable auto mirror version upgrade. So this can automatically upgrade our database so that you don't have to worry about the upgrade and the patching stuffs. Okay, so everything is there, and then it will give you an estimated cost. For us, we are just for free, so it's a free tier, so everything should be fine. But just keep in mind, after 12 months, you probably won't have this free tier. Yeah, okay, you can just create a new account. Okay, after a couple of minutes, so this database will be created, right? And let's just wait, and I'm gonna pause the video, and we will see. So at this moment, we don't have any credentials created, and the endpoint is empty. Okay, so because it's still in the creating status, and it will take a couple of minutes. So I'll be back, and we'll see how to connect to the database using our code. Okay, thanks.